Loves, and welcome to Jennifer's Open Book, where we don't believe in filters. I'm upgrading soon, you guys. We're gonna get this running a little bit smoother than it's been going lately. I know you guys saw me fumbling around with my phone trying to get that intro thing, but thank you for your patience and thank you for continuing to support. If you have not already subscribed to this channel, make sure that you hit your subscribe button now, like this video, comment and let us know what you think of this video, and go check out some of my other videos and let me know what you think about those. Again, thank you guys so much for all of your support. You are truly appreciated. So I have, of course, a special guest because all of my guests are special. So some of you know that I am in an organization called the National Federation of the Blind. And one of the young ladies, Janetta Price, who is also in that organization, has a company called Blind Girl Magic, and she produced a um, somewhat of a show on Zoom about 3 weeks ago for Black History Month. So, being in the National Federation of the Blind, I have met some extraordinary people. And this young lady that I'm going to introduce you to now is one of those extraordinary people. This is Miss Angela Pratt. Say hi.
Hi, how you doing? First, let me say
I,
thank you for allowing me to be here and hang out with you today. It is a pleasure.
thank you for coming. We talking. Miss Pratt has an extraordinary story. I love her story. You guys know that most of my guests are blind or visually impaired, and Angela is one of those people, and she is going to tell us her story. So first, may I ask, what is your eye condition?
Sure, I am totally blind due to damage to my optic nerves, and I don't have any light perception or any sight whatsoever. That is visual, but I do have insight. But I lost my eyesight, I guess, in 2002. Actually, March the 2nd marks my anniversary. And I lost my eyesight due to, like I said, damage to the optic nerve. And it started with migraine headaches that I did what a lot of women do, ignored the signs. I thought it was a lot of stress. I thought that because my job was stressful, I was working as a AVP for a mortgage bank, and I had 30 some employees, and you know how that goes. It was the end of the month and it was time for accounting, and I was just at my desk doing all of my reports, and I got up and I lost my eyesight, and it came back. And I was thinking to myself, what is going on? And I thought, well, it must be just the stress, just the stress. And so that went on for a while. That I did not go to the doctor. I kept on pushing through, kept on going to work, experiencing these migraine headaches. And one day I went home and it was so bad, I couldn't stand any sound whatsoever. I couldn't stand the television on. I couldn't stand the door being closed. I couldn't stand to even stand up and walk. And I just laid down for a few days to go and see about it. And I went to the doctor. And when I went to the doctor, I went to one of those eyeglass places that you go in, you can get your eyeglasses in one day. And I said, well, let me go get examined. And they dilated my eyes. And she said, unbelievable. She said, your optic nerve is so swollen. I need for you to go to the doctor. And I said, okay, I'll make an appointment. She said, no, right now. And she said, I'm going to call the hospital and I will get the neurologist and ophthalmologist to see you today. So by the time I left there and got to the hospital and I was doing my check-in, and as I was checking in, the young lady called my name and I stood up and started to walk. And again, I lost all of my eyesight. And I stood in the middle of the emergency room and I just screamed to the top of my lungs. And then it came back. And when I got into the examining room, and my eyes were already dilated, and the neuro-ophthalmologist took a look, he said that one or two things are going on. He said your optic nerves are so swollen. We need to do a spinal tap to see how elevated your spinal fluids are. And he said, if we don't get control of it, you're going to lose your eyesight. And I know that was the end of February. And so they did a spinal tap from the end of February to probably February the 1st, because I went in the hospital on the 2nd, but February for March the 1st, I had a total of 4 spinal taps. And every time they would remove the fluid, my eyesight would come back, and then it would build back up quickly. So they told me that I needed to get a lumbar shunt. And so I went into the hospital on March the 2nd to have that done. And I went in with eyesight, and I came out with none. In between there was a lot of eye opening things that happened that reminded me of my faith and my strength. And so that's the quick and dirty part of my story and how I became blind. I was in my 30s, early 30s, and I'm not even going to tell you how old I am now, but you can do the math. It's been 19 years that I've been totally blind. And I truly believe that the divine chose me for this wonderful journey.
So, do they know what caused it? Is it something that just happened?
There's a few things. It's something that just happened with me that, as I mentioned before, that I did not take care of. It was the migraine headaches that was giving me a signal that my spinal fluids were off balance, that I needed
Mm-hmm.
to take care of it. There's a few things that he told me that could have caused it, but they really don't know. One
Mm-hmm.
a a high dosage of hormones due to birth control pills. If you're on birth control pills for a long extended period of time, that could cause it. He mentioned that it could be some antibiotics that had expired, or it could be rapid weight gain. Now, the first two we ruled out. The last one, it was a possibility because I had just moved from Maryland down to the South, and I wasn't walking as much. I wasn't, exercising the way I was when I was in Maryland. I had settled into the Southern way of living, driving
Mm-hmm.
everywhere, eating
Mm-hmm.
out, making friends. I had started to go out into the Atlanta area more often and frequently. So I would say that it's probably closer to me rapid weight gain, but it's not a conclusive.
Okay. So, pretty much like everyone, you need to take care of your body and
Mm,
recognize the signs. I get migraine headaches. I've been getting them since I was a little girl. And so, and I'm gonna tell you, it has nothing to do with my the loss of sight for me. But whenever I got a migraine and if it stayed more, then I would wait 5 days, and my mom would be like, "No, you're going to the ER after
mm,
5 days." And
mm,
my doctor said, if you have a migraine longer than 3 days, go to the hospital.
mhm.
Do not stop. Don't lay down. Don't keep taking stuff because it's obviously not working. Go to the hospital though. That's a sign that something is wrong.
Right. I know that now. I mean, when those headaches started, then when the migraine started, then was the first experience I've had with migraines.
Oh, and that right there probably should have told you you need to do something because you don't have them regularly.
Exactly, exactly. But again, I thought it was just a stress level.
And for
Really?
those of you who don't know what a migraine is, imagine the worst headache that you've ever had, and then times it by 10, and then
Mhm.
add a sledgehammer to it.
I ate nausea and all that.
I was gonna say, and also like a hangover or something because you are going to throw up.
Yes. Mhm.
So the reason why I wanted you to tell that story, and I keep mentioning about, the, a lot of my blind and visually impaired guests, I admire them so much because they lost their sight later on in life and they did not give up. They had their moments where they wanted to, but eventually it was like I'm gonna live. And they a lot of people have done better after they lost their sight than they were doing before they lost their sight. So you did a lot. So first I want you to tell everyone, how you handled losing your sight in the beginning and where you are now with it.
Yeah. In the beginning, it was not a pleasant transition at all. And part of it, I go back and I look and I think about some of the signs that I think were signs then. Is that when I went to go into the hospital, I mentioned that I had to have the lumbar shunt put in, and I went to the doctor before, the surgeon before, and he said, "Okay, you're definitely a good candidate for this. We're going to go ahead and do it." And I'm thinking he's going to schedule, you know how doctors do, they schedule appointment a week out or so. He said, "No, I want you back here at 2 o'clock." And it was already 11 when he told me this. So I went home and I'm getting my bag together. And I went to sit on my bed and completely missed the bed. I hit the floor. And for me, that was a sign that my life is about to change. It has just hit the bottom. And
Mhm.
that's how I went into hospital. That this is going to be what I call my proverbial, uh, hitting rock bottom.
Mhm.
So many things in my life had been happening before that. I had accepted my call to ministry, and one day before I went into the hospital, while I was dealing with the migraines and having these episodes of losing my eyesight, I was getting ready to do a baptismal service. And I had my Bible open, I had my scripture, and the person was ready. And I was waiting for the cue to come out into the water. So I was looking at the Bible, and the words disappeared completely. And I'm standing there going, "Okay, God, why now? After I accept my calling, why now am I going to go through this?" And I left. I left. Because I could not face the fact of just admitting that I could not do it, that I could not see, and I wasn't sure exactly what was going on. So I left that day, going into the hospital, and I came out, and I didn't have my eyesight. I was over the singles ministry at the time, and I had told my mom, and as you and I talked before, I said I have a Southern mom that you don't not answer to her.
Mhm.
Um, Told her, I said, "Mom, I don't want to have any phone calls. Anybody call me, tell them I'm not available." And I went into the room and having my own little pity party. Oh, woe is me. Why am I going through this? Why now? Why couldn't it be something else? And for whatever reason, I never thought in my life that it would be blindness that would happen. I had gotten all kinds of extra insurance. I got cancer insurance, dismemberment insurance. Never did I think about the loss of my eyesight. So I'm in this room and I'm crying my eyes out. I'm having this wonderful pity party with just me because nobody else wanted to be a part of that party. And
Mhm.
knocked on the door and she said, "There's a phone call." And I'm thinking to myself, "Woman, didn't I just tell you that I did not want any phone calls?" But I was just thinking in my head, could dare not say it out loud,
You better
right?
not say it to your mama. Don't don't say it out loud.
Not because I'll probably go picking myself off the floor. But I said, well, and she said to me, she said, "But she asked for Minister Pratt." And I was saying, well, what is the difference? What is the difference between Angela and Minister Pratt? And so I took the phone call and I'm talking to this young lady, and we go into this period of ministry. And I recognized I had moved into ministry when I'm talking to her. And after I got finished and the conversation was over, Spirit said to me, "The same words that you just spoke to her are the same words that I'm saying to you." And
Mhm.
that, in a nutshell, is that this is not the end of your life. This is just the beginning of a new way of living. That the same way
Yes.
you told others that I will be there with them, I'm still here with you. And
Mhm.
where my life changed, because it was no longer woe is me. It was more of, wow, how can I move through this now? It became a challenge for me. How can I do this differently? How can I do this better? And in that place when I felt like I wanted to give up, that I didn't want to go any further, I got the strength, and I knew that I just could not stop, and I had to go on. And so it was like a refreshing, a renewal of my joy and my excitement in life. And I'm not gonna say it was easy, because it wasn't. It wasn't even a one day. I know telling the story sounded like it just happened quickly. It did quickly.
Mhm.
There was a time that I
It's a
just
process.
didn't know what to do. I had I had my favorite car. I got to a place where I was able to afford my favorite car. Now I couldn't drive it. Like, what do I do? Honey, let me tell you, I went out one day and I was like, this car, this was my baby. And I went outside and I decided I'm going to wash it. And I got the hose, couldn't see a lick now. I got the hose, I'm going to wash down my car. And a little girl was at my house and she said, Miss Angela, there's ants all over your leg. Because I had taken the hose and not realized and washed it in the car. And this is just one of the things that, you realize and you have to laugh about,
Mhm.
because it was fun in some places. It's like, oh, this is something new. I had gotten accustomed to doing things one way. Now I got an opportunity to do it another way. I got the opportunity to experience life from this perspective. And even though it's challenging, it may be challenging sometimes, but it is all worth living, because once you get it, you realize that it wasn't bad after all, that you went past your fears and you accomplished something new.
And I think that's what it is for us in the beginning. It is a great fear.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know what to expect. We didn't know what to expect before, but now we can't, we literally can't see what's in front of us. So um I had here was my question. Were you in contact with any blind or visually impaired people before you lost your sight?
No, not one. I can't even remember if I ever really saw one. In the places that I frequent or went, I did not. No type of contact whatsoever.
So I asked you that because now you're going to tell everybody what it is that you do with your ministry, because you were able to expand your ministry beyond what one of my colleagues, they call them sightlings, people who can see. And I
Huh.
love that I adopted that word. So you
See?
were able to expand your ministry even beyond the sightlings.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things I realized, because like I said, the story is so long, you can't tell it all. But I did eventually decide that I was not going to be active in the ministry.
Hmm.
Because I did not see a representation. When I went to a place of worship, I didn't see us. I didn't see us in the pulpit. I didn't see us in the pews. I didn't see us. And I asked myself the question, why? Why are we not there? And part of it is that it's not always, even though I believe that the table is set for all people, it's
Hmm.
always a welcoming space. And it doesn't matter what faith you're talking about, whether you're saying Buddhist, Hindu, whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Jew, it's not always a welcoming space.
I
There
made
are
I made my space welcoming. I'm telling you, I
exactly, that's what you,
I went in the church and said, "Hey, Pastor, I'm Jennifer. I'm gonna sit over here in the blind people section. You do what you do, and if you hear somebody shouting hallelujah real loud, that's me. When I get the Holy Ghost, don't come and grab me. The Holy Ghost got me. Don't come grab me. I'm over here. I'm in the white cane section, honey. I
hmm
will go. I get my family in church. I don't want to go. You going to church? Let's go. But yeah,
yeah.
I understand what you're saying because I'm the only blind person in my church, and before me, my pastor had never met a blind person before.
hmm and see, and that was a surprise to me, because I have met so many wonderful people. And so I asked the question why, and then I heard that it's not always welcoming. And so I have been doing a lot around ableism in different communities. And I decided that this was an opportunity to open up a way so that people who are in areas that are not conducive to transportation, especially in Georgia, there's a lot of places where they don't have transportation. They're unable to leave their home unless somebody else is taking them. They don't get out that often. They're not connected. They don't have a lot of the resources that a lot of times an inner city has. And so, how do they connect? How do they get involved? And so, the ministry is called Inner Vision Ministry because it's not about not having vision. It's just the inner vision that you see, because all of
Mhm.
us can see clearly. And so the Intervision Ministry has a few components. In the components, we have a prayer line. The prayer line operates Monday through Friday at 6:30 a.m. And we gather together on the line, we have people from various states. It's not limited just to the local state, from various places, places where people are able to connect in a spiritual level. We're not a denomination. We don't subscribe to any particular religion. So it's open. As long as you are able to come and you want to express and to feel love, you are welcome. You are welcome. It's a no judgment zone. We're just coming there as a community of people that believe in a higher power, whatever you call that higher power, where we can
Mhm.
and touch and agree. And what it does is give a community, a tribe, a group to people who, on other hand, are not connected, not connected. And it gives a place where people of that have been blind for many years can be peer supporters of people who have just recently lost their eyesight, who are just out there and they don't have a community of people that understand what they're going through. So it is a blessing to be able to connect with people and to see the transformation, to see it. And and one of the other things that I love is because when Voc Rehab stopped doing the homemakers goal, it put people in limbo, in my opinion, because what they're focused on is just getting back to work. And
Mhm.
I know for myself, even though my particular job held my position over until I was trained, and so I didn't have that concern about not being able to go back to work. But some people do.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
if they are dealing with the loss of their eyesight, they're dealing with where they are spiritually. They can't go into VR and talk, I'm mad with the divine. I am upset with the higher power because I'm going through this. They are going through this pity party and they don't have anybody to hold their hand or to say, we're right here with you. And so I offer that space. I offer that space where you can be honest with where you are and nobody has any guilt or anything. And we know that there's a transition because once you transition, then you're able to stay on the job. But before then, you're not mentally and spiritually prepared really to go back to work. And then you
Mhm.
see in some of the numbers that people are losing their jobs. Why? Because they're not prepared. They're not ready. And it goes beyond just getting the technology. And so it offers that space as well. The other thing that we offer is advocacy and outreach. We received a grant that allows us to provide hygiene items to those during the pandemic that are unable to get things that will help them to. Um, what I say is to restore dignity. It's easy, really, and in a lot of cases, to get food supplies. But who is providing soap? And if you're going out for interviews, you need things like soap and toothpaste and cleaning products,
Yes.
things like that. So we were providing that. We didn't have any limitations. We had a lot of volunteers that would actually go and drop them off the same day they were requested. If someone from out of our drop off area, we would actually mail it to them. So we were able to provide those kind of things. And people have been very helpful, happy about that. And they realize that this is something, an area that's not being funded in a lot of places. It's not being funded. And we are able to offer a um, introductory budget class as well that goes along with that. The third thing that we offer is we do spiritual development. It's like an intro to Bible study and things of that sort by request. We go out and do communion by request. And we also offer a social gathering of women, and we call it ESP, which is Esther's Sacred Place, where women just get together, and it's really social, really social. I mean, some of the things, just having a tea party, cooking classes. We're getting ready to do some canning where we can learn how to can some vegetables, different things, whatever the women want to do. We as a team, as a group, we decide if this is something we want to do and go out. Once the pandemic lifts up more, we probably be able to go out more, but just to go out and socialize and give a outlet to some of them. And we move around. We also have an annual prayer breakfast where we move that around as well. It's been here for 3 years in Georgia. We are trying to move it to North Carolina or to Alabama, where we just get together and just all the people that are a part of the prayer line and anybody they want to bring out, that we just have a place to socialize. And then the final thing is the other part of Intervision Ministries is the life coach part. I am a life coach, and it's called New Perspective. New Perspective means that in you, perspective is new uniqueness. How do you move from where you were to where you are now in your new uniqueness? And so, what I do is help people to navigate through the loss of the eyesight or any disability into a place where they are comfortable and ready, and they're at an accepting place to move forward in their life. So, that's Intervision Ministry in a nutshell. If I
That
had to
is awesome and a lot. Do you
report,
have a website?
we are working on the website right now. Social media, we are in Facebook, so you can find us. Facebook, Intervision Ministries. And also New Perspective, as I said, is in you perspective on Facebook as well.
I'm going to post those links in the comments for anyone who is interested in being a part of this. That is awesome. And I love it because it's also broad. It's not excluding anyone, any spirituality, anything. So I
No.
am going to make sure that I put those links in the comments. You are doing great and wonderful things. I'm so glad that you were able to come out of that place that all of us go into, that dark place that we all, well, not all of us, but a lot of us go into that place. Because I have spoken with a couple of people who said they did not, when they lost their sight, they were okay. And God bless you for being okay. I've been visually impaired my entire life, but I
Mm,
could see a little tiny bit. I could see colors and I could see large print. And when that started to go, I went into that place where I was just angry and
mm,
depressed, and I had to come out of that place. I had to come out of that place
right.
because like you said, it's not the end of life, but the beginning of a new way of living. So thank you so much for coming to share that with us. And I pray that it will help someone who is losing their eyesight or who have recently lost their eyesight. I think that is a wonderful story, and what you're doing is a great thing.
Yeah. Can I and I know we're getting ready to end. Can I end with a story, a parable that I always tell at the end of a lot of my talks?
Yes, please.
Okay. One of the things I tell all the time is about an African proverb. And this African proverb talks about a woman with two pots that she's going to get water. And on one end of the pot, one end is one pot and the other end is the other. And she goes to the well and she picks up the water. And she picks up the water as she's coming back, and she gets back home to give it to her family. She realized she only has a pot and a half. She doesn't have a whole pot. She goes out the next day and she goes back to the well and she comes back again and she realized again she only has a pot and a half. The pot on the left says to her, "You need to throw me away because I got a crack in me." And she said, "I knew there was a crack." And she said, "I'm not going to throw you away because did you realize that when we walk back on the side that you're on, there are flowers blooming and growing?" So even though there is a place that may be a little bit different, it may be a crack, but there is a purpose. And there is a purpose in you. There's a purpose in everything that you possess. You got to look at what's being fulfilled, what is growing right where you are. And I trust and guarantee that there is a blessing coming out of the way that you're living your life. If you live in it, understanding that even with a crack, you are a blessing to somebody else. Somebody needs you. Somebody needs your blessing. Be all that you can be.
I absolutely love that parable, and I have not heard it since I was a little girl. I was not expecting for you to say to tell that story, and I cannot remember um who I can't remember who told me that parable. But I heard it when I was a little girl, and as soon as you said buckets on the end of the sticks, I was
Mm.
like, I've heard that before. And I love it. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much again for joining me. I pray that everything that was said today has encouraged someone. Make sure that you guys share this video because what do you prefer being called Minister Pratt or you just
Angela is fine with me.
Angela? It's
My,
fine. Well,
my title is Reverend Angela, but Angela is fine. I am who I am.
well, what Reverend Angela Pratt said here today has touched me even. So make sure that you guys share this video because what she said may touch someone that you know or someone that they know. So go ahead and share this video. Make sure that you like it and leave comments and let us know what you think. I'm going to put the links to her Facebook pages in the comments so that you can follow those links and go ahead and find her and find out more about what she does. As usual, you guys, if you have a story to tell, make sure that you leave it in the comments or find me on Facebook or Instagram under Jennifer's Open Book, the same place you found me here on YouTube. JINNERFER apostrophe S open book. Leave me a message and come on. I'll get you on to tell your story. If you just want to come on and chat with me about current events or just some silly stuff, let me know. Send me a message, you guys. I love conversation. I love to talk to all of you. So until next time, I actually have someone special coming up. Well, all of my, like I said at the beginning, all of my guests are special. So we have somebody again special coming up next week. We have a musician. So until next week, um, I love you. Bye.
Bye bye.